Hey, Gaybros.
Hey, Gaybros, Jose.
Where are we today?
Today, we are at one of our mutual favorite dive bars in San Francisco.
Okay.
We're in the Outer Sunset.
No.
This
Try
is
again.
the Inner Sunset?
No, this is not the Sunset.
Oh, we're in the Richmond. God damn it. Sorry, I get my tiki bars mixed up. We are in the Richmond at Trader Sam's.
I have to love that this is like one of your favorite places and you still have to just check what was the name of the place.
This is the one dive bar that I actually know the name of. Usually you just usher me to cool places and I'm like, great.
Yeah. I mean, we actually came here like several times and it's one of my favorite neighborhood bars that is not in my neighborhood. That it didn't used to be in my neighborhood. Now in a different city, so it doesn't count.
This is one of the first places we met up in person after lockdown. I mean, we went to Lone Star, but like recording together after lockdown, we came here.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about like this. I think that the first time that we can hear is when we were starting to explore every single neighborhood, like the bars of every single neighborhood.
Back when I had a motorcycle.
There what?
Back when I had a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it was like, back then we didn't know about this. I had never been like probably in the Richmond, and it was like just an eye-opener. So to everyone listening to us, go to dive bars.
And go specifically to Trader Sam's.
If you're in San Francisco, just go. I mean, this woman deserves it. I mean, she just paid for our ticket.
She just bought our drinks because we're recording a podcast here. Thank you.
Yeah. No, so we actually now, we owe her. We owe her. So you have to say, when you come back, is like, hey, those two guys, one of them a Spaniard, is that they actually told me about this bar.
So technically, this is our first sponsored podcast.
That's true. That's true, yeah. So for this happy event, because it's like it almost sounds like we are making it to the big leagues right now, because we're like crossing the line. What did we watch?
This week we watched the 2021 film by Michel Franco called Sundown, starring Charlotte Gainsbourg and Tim Roth.
Yeah, and other people.
And other people.
That don't matter.
Those are probably the only like household names. Not that Tim Roth is a household name anymore, but
Was he ever?
I think like when Pulp Fiction came out, he was kind of a big deal. Then he did 4 Rooms, and then he did Funny Games. I mean, he was more or less like his face was known.
Okay.
Charlotte Gainsbourg, she's a household name in Europe. Let's just say that.
Let's just leave it there. No, and with Roland Emmerich as in Godzilla.
Exactly.
Yep. So, as this was your pick, why did you make me watch this?
Don't give anything away about how you feel.
I'm not. I just asked you, like, why did you choose this movie?
So to be honest, how we came to the decision to watch this film is my husband texted me and said, hey, I want to see this movie next week. And I said, hey, Jose's coming to stay with us all next week. And he said, see if Jose wants to see it. You said yes.
Yeah.
We saw it at the Kabuki.
No, it was a pick.
It was a pick.
It was a pick. So, as this was your pick, I should actually just summarize what this movie is about.
That shouldn't be hard.
It's going to be hard, but I'm going to try to make it like pretty short. Let's see. If I had actually had time like these days with work, I think that I would have tried to just summarize it in a haiku, because I think that it can be summarized, in just a single sentence, But family in high-end vacation in Acapulco received the news that the mother of what is the name of the actress again?
Charlotte Gainsbourg.
Charlotte Gainsbourg.
Just call her the woman from Nymphomaniac Part 1 and Part 2.
Okay. The woman that just sustains the flopping around of 2 dicks in front of her face receives the news that her mother died. When they go back to the airport to fly back home in London, the older man on the vacations lost his passport, but to his surprise, he never did. So he stays behind and he embraces a life of hedonism, nihilism. It's a bit more about like he wants to just stay in Acapulco, not in a nice hotel, not living like the life of a rich person or anything, but he just stays there. And he lies to the woman about going back, about like just trying to get back or finding the passport or anything. Basically, he gives 0 facts about it.
So I think there's 2 important call-outs here. One, for the first half of the film, we have no idea.
We don't know the relationship between them.
Yes.
That's the reason when I say like man and woman.
Yes.
And besides that, if you look at the casting, is that they don't say the last name of them, because you only discover it like way later. because they have said it before, is I probably would have been earlier that, spoiler alert, dear listeners, and I'm going to say, before they continue, I like this movie. I think people should watch it.
That is not what I expected.
I know that.
Okay.
That's the reason why I didn't want you to hear yesterday about like what I thought about the movie.
Well, you spoke in Spanish. No habla español.
I know. That's the reason why you felt so confused about this movie.
Sorry, and the second call out was, it's not that he wanted a life of hedonism. I guess it was hedonism, but he left the life of luxury and went to a very gritty sort of Mexican experience.
Yeah, it was a bit more about like, this is nice. I don't need like all the kind of high-end, like super expensive stuff that, spoiler alert, again, my sister wants. My sister needs, for her life. It's like, for me, it's like, I don't care. I'm like in paradise. It's like, for me, paradise, I don't care if I'm surrounded by Mexican people. That's not important. I will roll with whatever, But I think that the main... Well, let me just summarize. So he stays there, he lies to his sister about coming back, and then at the end, by surprise, the sister comes back. He said, what the fuck are you doing here? I was still expecting you to come back.
For the mother's funeral.
For the mother's funeral, because it was like the mother of both of them.
Yep.
So, and he saw like zero facts. Then they signed some kind of agreement that he wants to just get detached from the family altogether, as he's going to be receiving a stipend for the rest of his life.
Because we find out that they're actually the heirs of $1 billion slaughterhouse.
Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, but it's like they murder animals, and that's slightly important, not critical, but it's slightly important because then he starts having later like visions of that. But in any case, I'm going to say like Charlotte Rampling every day.
I know, but she's much older.
Yeah, but what's her name?
But also, she's fluent. Charlotte Gainsbourg. They're both fluent in French, so that's something.
Charlotte Gainsbourg actually comes back to Acapulco looking for him, and after like signing the kind of agreement about like I will leave you everything because I don't give a shit about the money, is like she gets murdered in a kidnap attempt. At that point, is like they start suspecting that he was like part accomplice of the murder, because he was seen hanging out with some of the people that murdered her.
Because his new friends on the beach, the locals, they're gangsters, which he didn't really know.
I think that he didn't care.
Yeah, he didn't give a shit.
Yeah, he didn't give a shit. About like when actually she tells him, he's like, "Are you safe?" He said, "Of course. Like, I don't care. I'm already going to die. It doesn't matter."
And he was staying in a hotel, clearly unsafe, where he got robbed. I mean, they didn't rob him at gunpoint, but they broke into his hotel room and stole everything.
And he gave zero facts about that. He actually was like, "Where is my stuff?" And then was like, "The stuff is not here." Basically, like the owner of the hotel does like the joke that Bush Jr. did when it was like the correspondent dinner, and he made like that stupid joke about where are the weapons of my destruction? Are they here? Are they here? So that's exactly what the owner of the hotel did. Is like, "Are your stuff here? Is your stuff here?" Like,
I don't know where your stuff went.
Yep. So he still stays there, but after his sister gets murdered, he gets sent to prison because of being a potential accomplice of this. So the lawyer comes back, the lawyers get him out of prison, and then he starts having visions of pigs getting slaughtered.
In the prison, there's just like a pig in the shower prison.
Yep. And I was saying, like, what the fuck? Until no one reacts to that. It's like, okay, it's Mexico, but probably not even like by Mexico prison standards, that would be normal. So we start thinking that there is something going on with him, and they even mention about like his condition, but we don't know what the condition is. So when he gets released from prison because he didn't do anything, he resumes his relationship with a shopkeeper,
a local
shopkeeper, and they move in together, and then he basically gets diagnosed that he has brain cancer, a brain tumor. And then he runs away from the hospital, leaving his love interest there,
who's sobbing because the man she loves has basically inoperable brain cancer.
Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much it. Is that then he goes to another hotel, like running away from everything, all the time, running away. Is that multiple times, like his nephews and nieces, they just come back not begging him for coming back, but at least like it's pretty clear that they are devastated about like just not only losing their mother, but also losing
their uncle.
Like the only remain.
And they insinuate that they're close. The uncle and the niece and nephew, they're close.
Yeah. And, He actually just talks about like, the love interest. It's the first time that we actually have like a clarity about like the relationship, and we are talking about like, is he lying? Is Tim Roth lying about like what is the relationship that he has with not Charlotte Rampling?
Charlotte Gainsbourg.
Charlotte Gainsbourg. God,
Star of Melancholia.
Well, supporting actress.
Sure.
But main actress for Antichrist.
She jerked off Willem Dafoe.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And he may just come blood. Yep.
Oh, God.
Yep, that scene is terrifying. So I think that more or less summarizes. You can actually, for biography, there is a weird thing with the pacing, and you mentioned this yesterday, is that there are times that is like super fast, a lot of stuff happens that it just startled you, that there is a point that a couple of guys in a jet ski or how you say it, like...
Yeah, it's a jet ski.
A jet ski is like just going to the beach and they just shoot like a bartender. They're like randomly
and
they just and it's like, and they're like completely like,
just taking pictures of it.
They got murdered, you know, and there are like some metaphorical moments, like the pigs, you know, or for example, like when the blood turns red with the blood. There is a okay, that's interesting, and there are other times that maybe it's like just 20 minutes where nothing really happens.
Yes, so I think you gave an excellent synopsis. I will say that this film is mercifully short at 1 hour and 23 minutes, I think. And almost all the action you described takes place either in the first 15 minutes or the last 15 minutes, and the middle is basically Tim Roth drinking beer on the beach.
Yeah, with other people.
For like 45 minutes. It's insane.
I just look at this. But it's a bit more about like just the kind of reflectful perspective about like, hey, I'm just here. I'm just here. And just my life is like I'm just present here. It's not about like just I'm just trying to achieve like some kind of level of insightfulness or anything. It's a bit more of a being present, you know.
And even after Charlotte Gainsbourg, after the mother's funeral, she flies back to Acapulco because she thinks her brother is literally in trouble. And she just runs into him on the beach, not drunk, but like just drinking beer on the beach. And you think this is the moment where you're going to get some sort of explanation or answers. Why is he behaving this way? Why did he lie about his passport? But you don't. Like, you just don't get any fucking answers. I had to say that the whole movie is built around, like, I want to decipher this character. Like, what is the motivation? And many characters, everyone feels like confused about, like, why did you do that? Because even, like, the consular representative asking, say, why? Why didn't you go to your mother's funeral? And it's infuriating that Tim Roth's character, he doesn't feel compelled or obligated to answer anything.
But that's the interesting part. I was thinking about it. It's like we as a society, we have the feeling that there is like only one sacred thing. There is like blood, bonds. You have to respect them. You are given to them. It is that you have to deal with them. You are obligated to those. And he was a bit more like, I don't. We don't know why. But it's like he was a bit more like about that, and everyone felt like super confused about like, why?
But I will say that the script, and therefore the film, was excellent at not giving you an explanation, but basically taking away all the expectations that probably the audience had. Like, is this about money? He's like, no, I don't want to fucking inherit the company. This is your company. I'm going to sign it all away.
Yeah.
Why did you do this? Do you want to have dinner? That was his response. And people are infuriated that he won't explain himself. But I was feeling as an American, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think here we have a more individualistic approach to society. Like,
but in Europe,
what the fuck does he owe you? Nothing. He owes you nothing.
But the thing is, like in Europe, it's like super bizarre. Like the idea of actually just trying to disconnect from your family. It's like, if especially you're like just having like a high-end vacation with your family, is that you're willing to go to Acapulco with them to a vacation that means nothing to you personally. You know, it's not about like he's talking all the time about like this is my dream, I'm amazed. He's like, no, he's just there.
And in my opinion, he's uninterested in that super polished, sophisticated vacation experience, which is why he leaves the luxury resort and goes to the beach where people get murdered. He was like, I want to experience something real.
But I don't know if he's really like just looking for a real experience. He's just there. in such a, not even a nihilistic way, but it's I just want to be.
And
I don't want
unfortunately,
to pretend. I just
Yeah.
want to be.
this film is impossible to talk about, in my opinion, without major spoilers, but, like, he alone, besides the family lawyer, knew that he was basically dying. Like, he had numbered days, and he was
Yep.
choosing to spend them exactly how he wanted, and everyone else judged him for it.
But that's the funny thing. When you think about, like, hey, if you are told that you only have, like, a number of days left in your life, probably you're going to be, like, doing crazy stuff, or big stuff, or meaningful stuff. He doesn't. He's just like, I just want to be here. And he starts a relationship with the shopkeeper, but it's not like, this is my dream relationship or anything. It's a bit more about, like, this is a woman that doesn't have any big dream, anything related to her either.
So, to draw parallels with my own relationship with my husband is the product of his father, who never sits down. Even in his 80s today, he is always doing something because he feels like he can't relax. He can never let himself do the things that he actually wants to do. I'm on the other end of the spectrum, the lazy end, where it's like, do I want to sit on the couch for 3 days and do nothing but watch HBO Max? I'm gonna fucking do that.
I fucking hate that. People that they just actually just go through life without living it.
It's not living it. It's like, how do I want to spend the next 3 days? People like you will judge me for
course
watching
I am.
HBO Max, but that's what I want to do, and I got the greatest amount of happiness from that. And so, if we're to draw parallels in our friendship, you're the judgmental Charlotte Gainsbourg who's like, I don't understand your decisions. You should be
don't.
completely productive. You should be doing something.
Okay, but for instance, like the whole movie, I spent the time, I just tried to think about, like, why? Why someone would choose to actually just live life in that kind of way?
But why do you have to, like, understand his decisions? Let him do his decisions and make him happy.
I'm not saying that actually makes, like, a better or a worse movie. It's like, I think that actually they present in a very smart way Tim Roth character is a puzzle, but maybe it doesn't have a solution.
But I think he's only a puzzle because society has put these expectations that, one, you need to explain yourself. We need to understand your motivations 100%. Two, if I don't agree with your decisions,
I'm going to be like,
you need to
"Judging you."
convince me why I agree with your decisions, when in reality, the guy is dying of brain cancer. They never say how much time he has left, but if he wants to sit on a beach in Acapulco and just live his life out, he should be able to do that without having to explain anything to anyone.
Well, true, but at the same time, he chose a pretty bad time for just detaching from his family. It almost felt like, look, I'm going to be like just sticking with my family until our mother dies. At that point, I'm completely off. But it's also a bit of an asshole thing. That is, if you really like your nephew and niece so much, they just lost their mother too. And you are like, fuck you, guys. I would actually hug you and say, best of lucks, but it's that you are not going to be there for them.
So, in that regard, I agree with you, because I only have one sister. She's the overachiever. She got a doctorate. She's a lawyer, blah, blah, blah. I'm literally the lazy one, and I could never imagine just abandoning my sister when our mother died. At the very least, I would say, Jess, I'm dying of brain cancer. I don't want to spend my final days dealing with the death of our mother. I'm staying here. I'll give you all the support I can by phone. Yep. Like, that I get. But also, like, I just felt bitter watching this film that, like, he has so little time left and he's just expected to feel everyone else's expectations. Like, fuck you.
But he's a coward because he doesn't really want to face about, like, look, not Charlotte Rampling. He said, I don't care. He said, I'm never going to be remembered anymore. Gainsbourg. Okay. I don't care. Is that you are like the one that is close with the business, you were probably like the one that was closer with her mother. I don't care, because even when she actually calls to say that I'm going to the hospital because something happened, is that he shows zero interest on that. He's just like touching the shoulder about it, and then just moving on. Is that probably is pretty clear. One of the things that I was wondering is that is there implicit or subtext narrative about what was the relationship with the business? Was there something that is that he hated, like the salon business too?
I would argue yes, because there's this scene when he's released from prison, and he's clearly, they never explain anything. Jack shit do they explain, but he's clearly moving in with his girlfriend, who's a local.
Yep.
And as he's moving his bags in, he walks into her home, and what he sees is a pig. on the kitchen floor, completely dissected. And so you have to, like, surmise that he's disgusted with the family business. Like, he doesn't... I don't know if he morally disagrees with it, but he clearly doesn't want anything to do with it.
Yeah, and that's... I have to say, I really like about like how indirect the narrative is. You know, it's about like, I don't want to be like telling you anything, but the characters are going to be asking the questions that you want to get asked, but I'm going to be like teasing you because sometimes life doesn't give you the answers that you want. And you have to deal with it. It's like it's life. It's different human beings. It's something that is like many times Hollywood just gives us like, okay, someone's going to be doing something crazy and someone's going to be asking you, why did you do something crazy? And there's going to be an explanation. In this case, like, no, sometimes we do something that other people are not going to understand and we're going to struggle to explain it.
And I could be just the most stupid cinema goer ever for feeling this way, but
you went to watch this movie, no, you're not.
But in the last podcast, we talked about Hour of the Wolf or Time of the Wolf, the Michael Haneke film about like a post-apocalyptic world where you're never given any answers, no satisfaction, and I think that was the point of the film, was like, hey, in desperate times, you can't expect shit. You're not going to get anything. That's the point of the film. And what I found interesting about this film is that for, 70 minutes of the 83-minute runtime, you're not giving any answers. Ultimately, that's what the family was experiencing. So we experienced what Charlotte Gainsbourg was experiencing, and then at the end, we finally understood this is what Tim Roth is experiencing.
Yeah, they give you like some tidbits, you know, because for example, the first time that he talks with a girlfriend about it, it's like, oh, do you have a wife? And it's like, no, I don't have a wife. I have a sister, and I have some nephews, and that's it. And I love them, you know. But it's like basically, it's the first time that we start like just stating. And I remember asking you, is he lying? Could this actually be true? Because the interaction they had at the beginning, they almost looked that they were a couple. Why would he be there? You know? And
also, it was very misleading because you asked me, are they brother and sister? And I said no, because he's calling her sweetheart, my love. And I don't know if that was like lost in translation from like British English to American English, but I'm sure that they wanted to be misleading about the relationship. Yeah. They only say sister towards the very end when he's giving up his share in the billion-dollar company and he gets an allowance.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is like if he was really his, at that point you would assume that they don't have an alliance. I spent like the whole time after that point about like, already have like an alliance, is that no one does. So it was a bit more about like, yeah, now it's clear that they are not married.
It was funny because I had you on one side of me and my husband on the other side. And my husband was like, are they divorced? I was like, I don't know. And you were like, are they brother and sister? I was like, I don't think so, but I don't know.
Well, but I only asked after the fact that he said, hey, I have a sister. He was like, was that the sister? That's pretty fucking weird going to Acapulco with your sister.
But then it makes sense because at the very beginning of the film, Charlotte Gainsbourg thanks Tim Roth. She's like, thanks for coming with us.
Oh, I forgot that.
And it was a little bit weird, and he's like, no, I'm happy to. And I just assumed he was like a very wealthy businessman who didn't have a lot of time to go on family vacations.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, there are like clues that there are no way to solve them until the director or the screenwriter is like, okay, we're 70 minutes in, I'm going to start to explain everything you just saw.
Yeah, that was the only thing that I didn't really like about this movie. That is like, that withholding of information felt like just a plot device.
It felt manipulative.
Yeah. It felt like, look, I could watch this movie again and probably going to be like looking at it in a slightly different way. If it's better or if it's worse, I'm not sure. Honestly, I don't know how my perspective of the first part of the movie would have changed if I knew that they were siblings.
So, you and I basically went into this film blind, because this was basically my husband's pick.
I want to say that after you left and I actually talked with your husband, I asked him, so about this movie, because I wanted to just like check about like, is this hedonist, is this nihilist, is this about more of a self-destruction kind of path? He said, what exactly is this? And he told me, well, yeah, I heard that the reviews were good for the movie, so that's the reason why I wanted to watch it. I like it, Pablo. I like it. You don't have to excuse. Yeah, you don't have to excuse yourself. Yeah.
So I will say that Pablo kept trying to talk about the film, and I said, we can't talk about it. We can't talk about it. And that is a result of, what's the Amy Adams film about the aliens? The
Arrival?
Matthew McConaughey film that came out at the same time, where he went to a black hole. Jessica Chastain was
Interstellar. Policy.
I was super moved by Interstellar. Pablo hated it. And I got super upset when he started to shit all over the film as we left. And I was like, you can't talk to me for 2 hours. So we have this ongoing joke about, like, don't talk about it for 2 hours. So when I told him we can't talk about this, he thought it was a joke.
No, it was because of the podcast.
So I explained to him, and he was super honored that we were actually going to talk about this on the podcast.
No, we didn't talk about it yesterday. And it was like just biting my tongue when we were on the car.
Yeah, it was
coming
hard.
Back,
it was hard not to talk about it.
I like this, but I had the feeling that he didn't like it because you said something when the movie was over.
I didn't say anything to him until...
No, to me.
He said something to you?
No, you did something. You did say something to me.
What did I say?
There's something about this felt long.
I said they managed to make an hour and 23 minutes feel much longer, but that was only in reference to like 45 minutes when he was drinking beer on the beach.
But it was well played. It was well shot. It was a bit more of a... I need this moment about like just, hey, I only have like, I don't know, maybe like 1 year left of my life, and I'm going to be like spending it not about like traveling around the globe and just getting all the... I just want to just chill and give zero fucks about everything.
There were absolutely moments that felt boring to me, but ultimately there were 3 hours that felt boring to me at the Turin Horse. But the final, 2 minutes, I was like, this was worth it. It wasn't that significant for me in this film, but at the end of the film I was like, I get this. I think I get this. And for me, this hour and 23 minutes was well spent.
Yeah.
It's experimental. I don't think it's like it's not a masterpiece, it's not an elevated film, but like there's something to this film that stuck with me.
I think that is bold. It's bold because it actually plays a bit more like with expectations that we have as a society about our behavior. And usually you don't have characters, like main characters, that you think like, that's a fucking asshole. It's like, but why? What exactly did he do that is a fucking asshole? What did he owes to his nephew and niece? He doesn't owe anything.
So let me ask you this. Did you feel at any point during the film he was an asshole? And if you did that opinion change?
It did.
Yeah.
It did at the beginning because I thought that they were married. I said, look, if you're married to someone, you have to just make that your primary thing. Now, we don't know the relationship that he had with his mother. Maybe the relationship that he had with his mother, it was terrible, you know. So from that perspective, like maybe he doesn't want to get attached to that. Or maybe he just received the news that is that you have 1 year left of your life. Is that no one is giving a crap about his situation. We don't know anything. So is there more stuff like started coming up? It was a bit more of a... We don't know exactly what the rest of the world knows about him. We only know what he is presenting here.
And I think, I could be wrong, but I think that was the point, is that society places assumptions and expectations on everyone. When the person they're placing the expectations and the assumptions on don't owe anybody anything. Like, he did the right thing. Besides the funeral with the mother, where I agree he should have given his sister support, besides that, if you have limited number of days on this earth, do whatever the fuck you want to do.
Yeah. No, honestly, I thought that it was bold in a subtle way.
I would agree with you, and I would also argue that while I liked this film, I told my husband last night, I was like, I like this. I would also argue that it didn't quite meet its lofty ambitions. Like, this film, not to get to the questions, could have been better, but I completely support the attempt. I enjoyed the experiment.
Let's go for the questions.
Okay, let's do it.
Because I had to say that it was like just parcelling my blog. You know, that I actually just could finish a question and say, I don't know anything about the character, but I want to keep thinking about it. Not because all the pieces are there, it's because it leaves you curious.
More. Yeah.
I want more. You know, it's not that I want a TV show like just going into this, you know, but it's a bit of a cheap way or just make me want more, but at the same time it's not cheap enough for just telling me is that this has been bad.
And also, we only have one perspective, and it's only from Acapulco, while the rest of the family goes back to London. We never see
Zero
London.
flashbacks.
Yeah.
Or zero like projections.
Yep.
Everything is from Gaybros' perspective. And it's like, I have to say, it's like those scenes on the beach, everything that it feels like so unnecessary at the same time is meaningful for his experience.
It's what he chose to do with his final days.
Yeah. So it's like, it's interesting with the world building that they do. It's like, I understand that basically when he's on prison and they tell him everything, almost like looking at the camera, it's like, you are the heir of this big industry. That is okay, that's a bit of over exposition that you have been like withholding from the audience.
Like if we had known they were billionaires from the beginning,
but
it would have changed. You knew they were rich.
They were fucking rich. I've been in Mexico. It's like, for just having that kind of experience, you had to be like fucking rich.
I've been to Cabo a number of times. That's not the experience.
No, it's not. And we're American. Well, you're American, I'm not.
You're close.
No, I'm not. So, would you watch it again?
I'm gonna answer no, even though I liked the film. I can't ever see myself in 5 years being like, you know what we should watch? That, like, obscure film from 2021 that gave me no satisfaction.
I would definitely watch it. And probably like tomorrow. Even like tomorrow. Like, just watching with other people, I just like will spend like the whole movie like just staring at the other person. I say, like, I want to see how you try to decipher like the enigma that is in those characters.
I'm sure there's a ton of like Easter eggs and hints and stuff you would get a second viewing, but I didn't find this compelling enough to watch again. Like, I would watch Lost Highway before I watched this again.
But I think there is a different type of puzzle. It's like maybe there is not enough elements here for us to decipher the whole puzzle, but it's fine because you only see like a snapshot of his movie, of his life. So from that perspective, it's interesting to see how people culturally try to fill those gaps in a slightly different way.
And maybe that's the point, is that we only have snapshots of people. We never have the whole picture, ever. And the director wasn't interested in giving us the whole picture, and we're left with questions, and... well, now I kind of want to watch it again.
Yep. Oh, you do? You want me to say that?
No, I'm going to keep it a no, but I'm curious now.
Would you recommend it?
To the discerning filmgoer, yes, I would be like, hey, this is a film that's going to challenge you a little bit. Not a lot. Like, it's not the Turin Horse, but, like, this is an experiment in my mind of, like, where can film go that's a little bit uncomfortable and weird and, like, outside of the box.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend this.
To your parents?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I would be curious to see exactly how they read. No, I wouldn't be curious because probably they would think about, like, you wouldn't be here for our funeral. Would you remember it?
Honestly, I think so. I think this.
You think so?
Yeah, I think this made quite an impact. Like, I'm not going to remember the 45 minutes in the middle, but the fact that he just made mystifying decisions and his family suffered a little bit, and then the explanation about why he made those decisions. Yes, I think I'll remember this.
I'm going to go with no.
I feel like this is a film we agree on and disagree on a lot.
There is something about it that I have the feeling that is not too memorable. No, not from a bad perspective. It's a bit more about like everything is so mellow about it. There is even when the guy, the bartender gets shot, I was like, okay, well, it's Acapulco. The already that just mentioned 5 times if you are safe. I wasn't surprised that there was nothing about it that I actually just felt this is the point that I'm going to remember. Even like with no Charlotte Gainsbourg.
Well done.
Not Rampling, Gainsbourg. Gets murdered. I was like, okay. Even like with the pig, like completely slaughtered. I was like, somehow there was nothing that made me actually just shocked about it.
Yeah, I can see that.
So from the perspective is that it's a good experience to watch it, but I don't see exactly what I'm going to be like remembering about it.
This is actually a film we should set a date, like 3 months in the future, and ask each other what you remember.
You're going to tell me Sundown is like, did we check it out?
What was that movie? Sundown? We saw something called Sundown?
It's a terrible name. Is there anything artistic about it?
It bums me out to say this, but I'm gonna say no. Outside of the script, I don't think there was necessarily anything particularly interesting about the direction, about the characters. No, I have to say no.
I had to say yes, just because of trying. You know, like with the
attempt,
pigs.
the experiment.
The experiment.
Okay.
You know, like the pigs, like the blood on the...
And like the waves in the ocean.
Yeah. I was like, tried at least. I'm not going to say that it's like it's an iconic image, you know, but it's like you put some of your effort into it.
Alright, I can see that.
I'm not going to say that it's like memorable, because I'm not going to really remember this movie in 3 months or 2. But there was something there. Is it a timeless piece?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's what you were saying about like this a bit more about like just the preconception about like what or how you are supposed to behave.
Yep.
I said that's always going to be in one way or another, like present in society. Would you turn this into a TV show?
No, I think 1 hour and 23 minutes was plenty of time in this universe.
Yeah, it's... No, there is no reason for getting out of this. Do you think this movie could have been better?
To be honest, I don't understand enough about what this film was right now to say yes. So I'm going to say no. I'm sure the answer is actually yes, but like I'm so fascinated by what this film tried to be that I couldn't say, well, there should have been stronger direction or there should have been more animated pigs. I don't know.
I'm going to go with no. I'm going to say that it's a... If it's perfect, probably not, but I think that is a bold attempt, and it's hard to make a bold attempt by nowadays standards.
And there's not a glaring problem with the experiment. The experiment may have failed or succeeded, whatever, but it's beautiful how it was.
Yep. So, those are all the questions. So before we score, I want to ask you, if you remember, it's going to be an interesting one because it was your pick. The juniper tree.
Which one?
The juniper tree.
Fuck.
You picked that one, man.
I remember that the New York Times said it was worth watching. I remember that Bjork plays one pair and a pair of sisters.
Yep.
And their mother was a witch. Their mother gets killed. The two sisters flee. They move to a village where ultimately they're accused of being witches. And that's it.
And that's it. You don't know what happened afterwards?
Nothing.
You don't know if they are like witches or not?
Nope. No, that was a completely disappointing film. And I feel sad saying that knowing we just watched Bjork perform 4 days ago.
Yep.
But no, that's a forgettable film, 100%.
So I'm going to go with no. You don't remember it.
I do not remember.
No, that's completely fair. So, yeah, I don't remember much that at the end they were in fact witches.
Do they get killed? They do. They get run out of town, right?
They run out of town.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I remember a little bit, but the answer is no.
Yeah, no, I don't remember more than that. About like, they were witches.
I remember that we both were disappointed. We did not like that
and
film.
I gave the movie a better score just from the perspective that is that it has Bjork, and I feel dirty about like giving her like such a low score. Her, not the movie, her. You know, like personally. So should we score Sundown?
Yes, this was my pick, so you have to score first.
I'm going to score it with an 8.
What?
What is your score?
Good for you. So this entire conversation, I've bounced back and forth between 7, 7.5. I'm going to give it a 7.5 based on this discussion. Again, I don't feel like it was a successful experiment, but it was an incredibly interesting experiment.
But the funny thing is that there are some times that when we talk about like cinemas that we think that is okay, they're trying to do something interesting, but they don't land properly. I think that this movie landed.
I just have to say I'm thrilled that you liked it.
Oh, yeah.
We did not discuss this film at all after we watched
Nope.
it. I thought you hated it,
No, I actually just was biting my tongue, and this like when you actually
which is
went
why we
back to
both
the-
wanted to discuss it.
Yeah, but it was a bit more that I need to talk with your husband because from a psychological perspective, I need to know is that this nihilistic? Is that what is actually the motivation of actually why someone will actually behave in this kind of way? Yeah.
Well, I'm thrilled you liked it because as we walked out of that theater, I was like, "Fuck, this is going to be an awkward conversation on the podcast."
No, I really like it. But actually, when I heard you about like, well, they made an hour and 20 minutes feel long, and it's that was the point.
Again, I agree. I completely agree, and I'm willing to like be patient and go through those very slow-moving scenes. But like, you didn't like the Trojan horse as much as I did.
It was fucking 3 hours of nothing.
But come on, 3 hours of foreplay and then an amazing orgasm.
And we agree that the last 2 minutes is the holy shit, but it's like you actually have to just put up with 2 hours and 58 minutes of bullshit. That's not worth it.
I get it. Different strokes for different folks.
Okay, so this was your pick. Is going to be my pick next. That's one of the motivators. One of the motivators for me to come back to San Francisco after like these 7 months away. It was in York again together, and we actually talk about the juniper tree. I'm gonna go. I want to see another one of her very few acting roles. I'm going back to one of our more like to be discussed directors that is Lars von Trier. So I want to talk about Dancer in the Dark,
Which combines 4 of my favorite things: Tom York, Bjork, Lars von Trier, and
musicals.
sadness.
Oh, sorry, I don't know what I was thinking about. I don't think there is any confirmation that Tom York was involved with this.
Absolutely. He was nominated for an Oscar with Bjork for the theme of the film.
Was he?
Because on the soundtrack, it was actually Tom York and Bjork singing "I've Seen the World."
No, I've seen it all.
I've seen it all. Yes.
Alright, so next time, Dancer in the Dark.
Fuck yeah.
Anything else to say to our audience?
Just wash your hands and don't pet the deer in Staten Island.
Bye.